Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys. I'm back. From Salt Lake City. Only Salt Lake City and nowhere else.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
The podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Dan.
Coming up on today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to do the normal thing, but then we're going to talk a little bit about Dan's trip and some observations that he made.
Various travels.
Yeah, travels in Europe.
Let me tell you something, you guys. You were
Dan.
all in my mind while I was there.
Aww.
Away on the other side of the world.
Yeah, that's nice.
Thinking about you guys, thinking about all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, we did several podcasts that were transatlantic.
Yeah, not an easy thing to do.
No.
So I'm kind of
pretty
setting
impressed
up
with
today. I was like, wow, this set up so quickly.
This is
so
like
easily.
the easiest thing in the world.
So we're Dan's gonna talk about some observations that he made and kind of tie them back into the whole idea of atheism and all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very pleased about all of that.
Well,
and
Dan,
I'm very pleased to be back here.
I know. Welcome back
you,
to Utah.
Just sitting across the table from each other like good pals.
Oh, just like that.
But I would like to thank our two guest hosts.
Oh, absolutely.
Adam and Rachel for their lovely filling in work.
Yeah. They both did a wonderful job, and I'm sure we'll be hearing from one or the other of them
as we move on
in the future and all that. I thought they did.
But more than anything, it just goes to show how eminently replaceable I am.
That's exactly the lesson. That's the lesson I learned.
Sure, why not?
I was like, oh, hey, I could
do this without Dan.
Yeah, I need to get rid of him. He's kind of
hey, stop being a jerk.
Unload some baggage and
yeah, exactly.
Not at all, Dan. It's just not the same without you, I have to say.
It isn't. It is. One thing that's undeniable is that it's different.
And that's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Well, do you have one to start with? We didn't talk about who would go first.
You know what? I do.
You want to start?
Because I missed the 4th of July.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't here for it. I was literally riding Viking horses in Iceland.
Wow.
How's that for a thing?
That's a thing.
And then puffin hunting.
And then
not actually hunting.
This wasn't your first 4th out of the country, was it?
I don't know. It may have been.
Really?
It may have been.
I think it's an interesting experience.
No, it wasn't because I spent
summers ago, right?
A few summers ago I was in Canada visiting my mom.
But it's kind of an interesting experience.
Yeah.
When the 4th of July, like what I think is really interesting, and I don't know that you weren't part of this conversation, but I think the one thing that I didn't fully get to articulating with Rachel is that leaving the country and being outside of the country is something that helps you, like it reminds you of the fact that you are American.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to get down on the country and so forth and so on, but boy, it's home.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Boy, it's like the culture that you connect with, and it's the people that you connect with.
I truly love this country.
Yeah, same here.
I truly love this country.
But I think that it takes getting out of the country every so often so that you can be reminded of really how American you are.
Yeah.
And really how deeply that identity goes.
Right.
So, but anyway, so the 4th, obviously abroad, is a bizarre experience.
It is. It's funny. We were staying in a hostel because Iceland's way too expensive and staying in a hotel is ridiculous. Plus, they don't even have hotels in part of the places that we wanted to go.
Oh, really?
Everybody hostels there and everybody hitchhikes.
Oh, that's
nice.
It's
a thing. You just
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Apparently, hippie kids go and hitchhike Iceland. It's just what you do.
Okay.
Anyway, so we were at a hostel, and the other thing about hostels is that everybody talks to each other. Everybody wants to interact and whatever.
Very friendly.
Yeah. And somebody, I didn't actually hear this conversation, but Eric heard it and Andrea heard it. Anyway, there's this lady, American lady, talking to a British lady. This is on the 4th of July.
Oh, okay.
And saying something along the lines of, well, I don't want this to be a sticking point, but this is the time when our country got its independence from your country. And the other lady, apparently, this British lady, was being really generous about it and really sweet about it and was just like, oh, yes, we think that's great. And, our dog is American and was born on the 4th of July. So we just think that that's a fun time to just But yeah, the lady was apparently making an issue out of it. Like,
Yeah.
haha.
Yeah. Ugh, God, dumb Americans. I that's also something that becomes evident when you travel.
It's
is
dumb
just
Americans.
how many really dumb fellow countrymen we do have.
Oh, yes.
And how spottable we are on the streets of
Yeah. Although, I will say,
European capitals.
German tourists, equally spottable.
Equally spottable, but in a very different sort of way.
And hideous. They're
Yeah.
always just...
Yeah, they may
fashion
actually
choices.
be more ugly as tourists than Americans.
Yeah, I mean, Americans are wearing the worst T-shirt you can imagine, which they bought in the country that they're wearing it. Like, the insistence on wearing the T-shirt that you bought in the country that you bought it in is bizarre to me.
Yeah.
But it's a thing.
We love that, though.
Love it.
You know, we always wear the T-shirt of the place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm in the Icelandic airport, and there's a guy who's wearing the T-shirt that I saw at all of the Icelandic touristy shops.
Oh.
That's got the... You remember the volcano that went off in 2010?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Wait a minute. I think I might be able to... If I look it up, I can pronounce it. It's...
Well...
Fietel Gertel.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, he's wearing a shirt that says that, and it's like, it's so easy to pronounce, and then has a phonetic pronunciation of it underneath. And I'm like, you're still in Iceland, dude.
Yeah.
That's not funny until you leave Iceland.
Well, maybe he just ran out of clothes.
Yeah, well,
Didn't have anything to
believe
wear.
me, that happened to me. That happened to us.
Uh-oh, really?
We were a fairly stinky bunch by the end of this trip. Because we kept going to places going, I think they have laundry services there. No.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
So-
Anyway, so 4th of July.
Your point, yeah.
I missed it. Mm-hmm. I wanted to talk about one of my favorite of our, what we call founding fathers,
Oh, yeah.
who is TJ, Thomas Jefferson.
Ah, yes.
A noted philosopher. And those of us in the ranks of atheism and or non-theism like to claim him.
Yes.
And we like to claim a lot of the founding fathers, and it's probably unfair for us to do that. But we sure to throw around the word deist a lot,
Oh, yeah.
and which I think is absolutely fair in his case.
Sure.
And in the case of most of our founding fathers, as a matter of fact,
yeah.
they didn't like. TJ did not like God that much. He liked Jesus
Sure.
as a moral teacher.
Right.
He did not. I mean, well, so anyway, I found this article, USA Today thing. It's more about this guy Barton, David Barton. Have you heard of him?
Isn't he on the back of the Yellow Pages? Isn't he one of those?
I have no idea what that means, but okay.
No, the lawyers that always advertise on David Barton and Associates.
Right? No, that's not who that is. This is a revisionist historian, essentially. I mean, he starts from the point of view of being a right wing nut job, and then writes history from that point of view, essentially. So his most recent book, he wrote a book called The Jefferson Lies.
Oh, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And basically he argues that all the academics, and we got to put air quotes around academics because they're just elitist assholes.
Oh,
Of
course they are.
Yeah.
We know they are.
Right.
Skip past that one.
Right. Doesn't make
Just
what they're
smarter
saying
than
wrong. They are smarter than... So he says that they're totally wrong because, I mean, really, you read a book about TJ, you're going to get a few things. You're going to get racism, but not enough racism that he would not have sex with them. Because you're going to get the Sally Hemings thing.
Sure.
How he fathered children with one of his slaves.
Right.
At least one that we know about.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get a whole bunch of very secular stuff from him. And and this Barton guy likes to claim that that's all wrong. That's not who he is. And by the way, he's sort of in cahoots with Glenn Beck on this, and they love to quote each other on what Thomas Jefferson was really about.
This guy. Okay, cool.
But I mean, what I love is the fact that Jefferson actually took a rational approach. He liked the Bible, and he went through. Have you heard of the Jefferson Bible?
Mm-hmm, where he
redacted the thing.
He redacts it and goes with just the That takes all the miracles out,
takes
right?
everything
takes all the magic
magical
right.
out of it.
Yeah.
So there's no resurrection.
Huh.
There's no, there's no walking on water. It's just the philosophy of the thing.
Have you ever gotten your hands on a copy?
I found it online.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you read through?
Maybe I
nice
should post
read?
that. I'll post that on
Post a little link
Facebook.
on that. Yeah, that'd be lovely.
But yeah, and it's just the book becomes infinitely better when you take out the miracles, I think. It's just, the magic just... Now, I had a conversation with a guy on my trip about this, a man whom I respect deeply, but he was like, you take out the miracles, you take out everything. He doesn't think that Christianity exists or has anything to offer without the divinity.
Oh, well, that's... Okay.
But I guess I see where he's coming from, because without the divinity, all you've got is standard, pretty human, basic philosophy.
Right.
It's what everybody would come up with if they're really being honest with themselves.
Good.
Yeah.
Because
I think that's exactly what you need.
We need to be reminded of these things.
Right.
And we've talked about this before.
Absolutely.
The need to recognize the place for good life lessons and for, like finding moral lessons even.
Right.
And doing rituals, finding rituals in your life to...
If you're a person who needs rituals, who connects with ritual.
Well, yeah.
I think that I don't think any of this applies to everybody. That's another thing that I think we need to expunge from our our experience.
The point that I think is made specifically about ritual is that human beings are terrible at remembering.
Right.
Yeah, so that ritual does a really good job. And okay, it doesn't have to be ritual in the sense of like ritual, but it can be ritual in the sense of like, I used to think of reading the paper in the morning and having a cup of coffee was one of my rituals.
Yeah, it's clearly ritualistic. And so in that sense, yeah, I get where you're coming from. That totally makes sense to me to say, if you wake up every morning and your ritual is to remind yourself of what your goals are for your life and what your beliefs
lovely.
are or whatever.
Yeah,
I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
I think that I need to start doing that more.
I'm actually sort of practicing a little bit of that.
Really?
Yeah.
I on and off do. I journal. And when I journal, that's kind of what that's about, is reminding me, reminding me to analyze what my life has been, what I've done, reminding me to think about, like, to give some thought to just mindfulness, really. Just give some thought to, like, oh, this happened to me. What does it mean to me? All that sort of stuff.
Right,
anyway,
right. Okay, so back to...
I just
Thomas
like,
Jefferson.
Jefferson, he called the Book of Revelations, I'd never read this, he called the Book of Revelations the ravings of a maniac.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I love that.
Okay.
What's great is that there are all these things, so guys like Barton, guys like this quote-unquote historian, there's just so much that you can just slap them with. That just have, the guy has nothing. What are you going to do when he says, every one of our founding fathers has some sort of quote about how our country is not founded on religion. That kind of stuff drives those guys bad.
Oh, well, yeah, because it flies in the face of the myth that they like to believe about this country.
Right. Yeah, so I just wanted to give a shout out to TJ.
All right. Yeah. Cool.
Very happy about that guy.
Well, here's one that I was kind of excited about sharing.
Yeah.
And when I read the headline to you earlier, it kind of, I got a blank look from you. So I'm going to try to explain this up front a little bit better.
Right.
But the headline, and this comes from the LDS Church News.com, modern day Mongolian pioneers reenact trek. Okay. So there's a lot going on there. So
you mean an episode of Star Trek?
Yes.
The Trouble with Tribbles?
No.
Or they're Mongolians, so never mind.
Yes, don't.
Bad.
Okay.
Not gonna do it.
So modern day Mongolians reenact pioneer trek would have been a better way for that headline to have been written.
Yeah.
To give you a better sense of like.
But even then, you'd have to be Mormon to understand what the hell they're talking about.
So a custom that has really emerged in like full force in the last decade or two is the Mormons is the Mormon tradition of reenacting the pioneer journey,
Right.
From Missouri, from the Midwest to the Mountain West.
Right. So this was in the 1840s.
Yes.
The Mormons had been kicked out of everywhere.
Everywhere they had lived.
And so
their neighbors had grown tired of them and had sent them packing.
To the tune of, like, ransacking homes and that sort of thing.
Burning things down and tarring and feathering. But to be fair, it's not like they were just like, oh, these Mormons.
Oh, no, the Mormons were doing it back.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
The Mormons were being bad neighbors.
Yeah. And so modern day Mormons like to go and experience the trek.
Yeah.
And they call it trek.
Okay? Right.
And so they'll go and they'll get like covered wagons or hand carts or whatever, and they'll make their way across the plains.
They'll dress in the cute little
sanitized
outfits.
Yeah, and they'll wear the garb.
Yeah.
And they'll have these sort of very sanitized experiences. There's outhouses along the way.
Right.
All along the way, there's places where you can go to the bathroom.
They're not going to do the actual thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you'd have people with their feet getting cut off and that kind of stuff.
Thousands died
because
of those,
or frostbite
hundreds
and
anyway.
whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, so this has kind of worked its way into modern Mormonism. Well, it's not just the Mormons who descend from the pioneers that do this.
Not.
And that's what I think is really bizarre. Because I remember being a kid in Oklahoma, and this one July 24th, which is Pioneer Day in Utah.
Utah's celebration of the pioneers crossing the plains.
And it's a state holiday. Things are closed.
Yep.
And there's a huge parade. But anyways, there was this group of people back behind the LDS chapel. And it felt like on a Saturday, I think. So and my dad was bishop, and so there was some reason why we needed to be down there. But there was this group of people all dressed up in pioneer garb, and they had like a little handcart, and they were like hauling it around in the field behind the church. and it was just like, what the hell is going on? Well, that's kind of one thing, I guess, if you're still in this country, because there might be a good chance that even though you're in Oklahoma, that you might still, maybe you have some kind of connection to that whole story. Mongolians dressed up in pioneer garb.
In American 1840s pioneer garb.
Yeah.
Wow. Bonnets and...
In Mongolia, yeah. Pushing hand carts across... the Mongolian landscape.
Oh my god!
Through little areas that they've temporarily named Illinois and Nebraska and Wyoming, and singing hymns like "Come, Ye Saints." And I looked through the pictures, and the pictures are just fantastic.
Oh, well, we got to post those too then.
We'll totally post these on the Facebook page. But really, really good stuff. And it really leads me to, like, I think they're doing it wrong. I think they're doing this whole, like, connection to the history completely wrong, because connection for these Mongolians is only going to go so far. Right? These are, and for anybody who's not a descendant of the pioneers, it's not your story.
Okay. I hear you, but what we're doing here is we're taking this out of the realm of the history of a place and a people and making it about a religion. And that's a very different thing. And I think that is their story if they're dumb enough to become Mormons. Oh, God, I shouldn't say it that way. I just...
Gullible enough.
If Mormons, Mongolians. Can we call them Mongolians?
I don't know that's very...
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, somehow they've convinced all these Mongolians to become Mormons. That's fine.
You say all these. I bet it's not all these. That sounds like there's a big group. This is
like,
they've got a few.
They've got a few. Anyway,
fair. Okay.
Well, so here's what I'm saying. How is that any different than the guys in the stupid Christian amusement park in Religulous putting on a reenactment of Jesus's trek up the mountain to get crucified?
Well, Jesus is their God, and it's a pivotal story, right? That whole thing is like central to Christianity.
Yeah,
it's not the pioneer trek. The pioneers making their way across the plains should not be central. I'm not saying that it isn't central. I'm saying that it should not be central.
What? Give it a couple centuries and it's Moses. It's the same, it's just a group of people who got kicked out of one place and trekked to another place.
Yeah.
It's no different. I mean, the Mormons love to connect it with the Exodus in the Bible.
Oh, yeah. They do.
It is
call
the
it
Exodus.
the Exodus.
Yeah, it is the
Mormon
the same.
Exodus.
I'm giving it to them. It's kind of the same thing. They were, well, not the same thing in terms of like,
well,
they were slaves or whatever.
And also that it probably actually happened.
Well, we know that the Mormon one happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it is different from the Moses
From the biblical one, which
in
could just
that
be
sense,
legend.
which is probably which anthropologically the evidence shows that it probably never happened. But also logic shows that too.
The parting of the Red Sea.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All of those miracles. Oh yeah.
So I just thought that was interesting and like
everyone, if you could just do me a favor, close your eyes right now and picture a bunch of Mongolians dressed up as 1840s Americans crossing the Mongolian plains.
Yeah, it's absurd.
That's a great image. I'm gonna just let that image sustain me for a little while. That's great. It's probably better in my head than it is on the pictures. I haven't seen the pictures yet.
That's pretty good.
Well, speaking of pretty good, we got from the Facebook, our friend Michael on Facebook posted a thing that I wanted to talk about because I think it's actually really good. It's really interesting.
Okay.
An article in Scientific American called How Critical Thinkers Lose Their Faith in God, which actually is a bit misleading of a title. But anyway, what's interesting about it is that a couple of researchers have been doing research on belief and on faith and on religious thought. And this to me gets really to the core of my thinking in terms of what religion is, what rationality is, how they intersect. They talk about two different kinds of systems of thinking.
Okay.
Apparently, this is a common thing that they talk about in psychological circles. System 1 and System 2.
Okay.
And System 1 thinking, they're both very useful, but the thing is that System 1 thinking uses it's basically your intuition. It's snap judgments. It's a quick way of a quick process. Whereas
your gut.
Yeah, I think gut is a reasonable way of talking about it. So let's see. How does it describe it here? So System 1 processes. So System 1 is your gut. System 2 is your reason, your analytical thinking.
Okay.
So any magical thinking is obviously going to be System 1.
Okay, sure.
Anything else, anything that requires more analysis is System 2. And the thing is that System 2 is obviously a lot more intensive.
Sure,
it's a lot harder. It takes more energy. It takes more time.
Okay.
So System 1 is more comfortable.
Okay.
It's definitely and we use it all the time. We all use System 1. It's very easy. If you're driving down the street and you see something on the side of the road, you just make a quick judgment as to whether or not it's going to be safe for you to drive past it or whatever. But what's interesting is, so these researchers started using tricks. Psychologists have always used tricks to try and make brains use System 1 versus System 2, or snap them into System 2 versus System 1. So, for instance, they would ask somebody a question, or ask a series of study participants a question after having them look at Rodin's The Thinker versus having them look at a piece of art that is system neutral, meaning it doesn't invoke either System 1 or System 2. It's just a pastoral painting or whatever.
Okay.
Or a painting of just a person not doing anything.
Okay.
So apparently, even just looking at The Thinker will trigger your brain into System 2 thought.
Really?
It'll just inspire your brain to go into System 2. So what these guys did a bunch of stuff involving trying to get System 2 thought versus System 1 thought, and then asking a bunch of religious questions about people's faith. And what they found was, in several different studies, once you get them into System 2, their faith, the way they answer the questions It totally changes.
Really?
The same people asked the same questions, or like the same, or statistically equal group asked the same questions. And here's one of the things, and this one was fascinating. If they had these people reading a questionnaire in a font that was difficult to read versus a clear font, their religiosity went down in the answer to the questions. If they had to focus and really work out what they were reading,
everything should be written in a difficult to read font.
Absolutely.
That's wild.
Yeah, I read that. I found that just fascinating. Yeah, so the researchers found, I'm going to just read this part. The participants who filled out a survey that was printed in unclear font expressed less belief as compared to those who filled out the same survey in a clear font. I'm fascinated by that. I am just suddenly, I realize now, professors, teachers should be making their shit hard to read, just so that their classes, their students have to engage those reasoning things. Don't you think?
Yeah, it's
really something.
Yeah,
I think it's just. I think it's amazing. I think that just shows. If anything, it just shows how tenuous our hold on our own beliefs and rationality is, really, as humans. We're just so changeable. We think we're so set on things, but the tiniest little triggers can have amazing effects on our beliefs, on our thoughts. It's an amazing thing.
Which font makes people not believe in Jesus? Is there a font? Is it Comic Sans?
It was Comic Sans for me. That was the one that made me an atheist finally. No, that you don't want the one that makes you suicidal. You want the one that makes you think.
Oh, okay. So not Papyrus, not Comic Sans.
No.
Okay.
Just something that's hard to read.
Okay.
You don't want to go
like a calligraphy.
Yeah, like an old German calligraphy.
Ooh, like yeah, okay.
I don't have my font book up. Otherwise, I'd be looking through. But yeah, Helvetica, that doesn't make you think at all.
No, it makes people apparently.
Helvetica is making you stupid, people.
Oh, that makes me sad.
It's a lovely font, but it's making you stupid. Creating magical thinking.
Well, all right. Well, I came across something that I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And at sort of first glance, I didn't think too much about it. The headline says, "Ban on headscarves may limit freedoms."
Okay.
And, well, I think a ban on anything could easily be argued to say that that's limiting a freedom.
It's by definition,
Sure.
it seems to be.
Right.
Unless it's a ban on banning freedom.
Oh, ooh.
Oh, see what I did there?
Wow.
Turned it all around.
I'm having a hard time even thinking through that one, Dan.
I'll write it in a weird font. You'll be able to figure it out.
And so anyways, this was a UC Santa Barbara professor, I believe, who's written a book about sort of the Muslim experience of like the Muslim women being limited from the public sphere, actually, in the name of secularism, democracy, liberalism, women's rights. What you're doing is actually, creating a society where, if those women are doing what they're being taught is the right thing by their religion, that there are whole spheres of society that they can't engage in a society that would ban the use of the headscarf, the hijab. And yeah, that doesn't strike me all that crazy or anything, but this led to a discussion in this article about the book about the practice in Turkey. Because Turkey is 99% Muslim.
Right.
but since the 1920s, I just found out, has essentially been secular.
Isn't that?
And they have banned headscarves in whenever you're sort of
when you're in a job,
when you're in a public sphere.
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
In order to because like if you have a society that is if you're wanting to create a secular society that's going to be able to interact with Europe, which Turkey is like desperately trying to become a part of Europe,
right?
Officially,
right? And there may be some openings.
Yeah. Although I think that the core group is going to be a little more leery of letting in any new members. But anyways, so in order to create that society, they had to go to some pretty drastic, take some pretty drastic steps.
Right.
One of them being the banning of the hijab. But I think that it's so interesting because what I find interesting about this is, and we were talking about this earlier, is that France has joined in a lot of ways in banning the headscarf, and it's just such not a discussion that we really have in this country. I think we kind of like you might walk down the street and have some sort of revulsion, right? I know I hate to say revulsion, have a reaction to seeing a woman who is a hijab I don't find to be too much of a problem, but I actually saw a woman in like a burqa at the supermarket the other day, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, like
full on. Just
slits
her
for
eyes. That's all you could see.
Yeah,
and that's a burqa, right?
I don't know what I mean,
I think the burqa is more the Afghani thing, where it's like they even have like a little mesh screen,
right? And
it's like big and burlappy.
But I think we think of it as just being whatever's a head to toe covering
with only eyes showing is a burqa.
Let's just call that a burqa.
Let's say that's what a burqa is, even if that's not entirely accurate.
Who cares?
But anyways, I saw a woman completely dressed like that, and I was like, oh God, that just like it really bothers me, right? But I mean, actually I do have a problem with the burqa.
Yeah.
Because I think people should have to show their faces in public.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
And so,
although why? I mean, there are reasons. She could be robbing that store.
Well, my bank won't let me. My credit union won't let. Has a sign on the door that says, take off sunglasses and hats when entering this building.
Sure.
I think that's pretty standard fare.
You know what?
And so, what does she do?
Why haven't we seen a heist flick where all the robbers dress in burqas?
Wasn't there that one with Ben Affleck?
I think they dressed as nuns.
Oh,
with goofy masks.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. But a burqa, you don't even need a mask. You just go in and people just will accept that you're just supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
And then you rob it.
Because
screw you.
A group of women in burqas with...
Yeah. The burqa bandits. The hijab hijackers.
Okay. Yeah. No, and so anyways, I don't know. I just think it's... I thought that was really fascinating about Turkey. I didn't know that about Turkey at all. But I mean, what do you think? Because personally, what is it that I mean, obviously with France, they're trying to protect themselves from sort of the encroachment of another culture, right?
There's that element of it
in Turkey.
Well, it's a fascinating question. And what's funny is that you're right.
How harmful just think of a woman with a scarf on her head.
Right.
That's all we're talking about with the hijab.
Yeah.
And they don't allow that.
Think about Audrey Hepburn in the back of or in a convertible.
Yeah. That's you have that on your head. You can't participate in public life.
I think it's so fascinating to me because for one thing, for all of the anti-Islamic feeling in America, I don't think it occurs to anybody to say, well, you're not allowed to wear the shit.
Exactly.
I don't think that's even part of the discussion.
Right. They may not want a mosque in their neighborhood, but nobody really I've never heard any mention about the headscarf.
About making it illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't even occur to people. I think what do I think?
You may not want them in your neighborhood, but as long as they're not in your neighborhood,
yeah, they can dress how they want. I don't know. Does it do anything? Frankly, I want all religion gone. So it's hard for me to extract that thinking from.
I don't think I wouldn't want to live in a society like in a place where the government banned religion.
Except that it's not banning religion, and here's where we need to make some differentiations. It's important for the government to be able to ban practices that are unsafe for society, even if there's a religion that says that it's okay.
Right, but this is not what this is.
No, I'm just trying to set down some guidelines, some basic rules. So the question for me is there a valid and viable reason why it harms or endangers society to have people walking around with these markers of their religion on them?
Well, I'd have to say no.
Well, it's an easy position to take. I mean, I think that there
is that an easy position?
Well, here's the thing. In France, a lot of times, a lot of the justification for it in France, and they have banned it in France. And one of the justifications was that kids were getting in scuffles at school. There was violence occurring based on that difference.
Right.
Now I don't think that's a valid
people
argument.
To live in a pluralistic society.
No, you're just teaching them that you're just teaching everybody that
you're actually on the side of the bullies.
Right.
In that case.
Exactly. So yeah, I think in the end it's the wrong answer. The answer is never to say you're not allowed to wear the headscarf.
Because it's not getting in the way of anything.
Right.
But like we said before, the burqa, it does get in the way of something.
Right. Right. Yeah, if your face is covered entirely, and we can't tell who you are as you go through your life. If a cop can't pull you over and say, "I have to look at your face right now,"
right,
and your driver's license has to have a picture of your face,
right, because it's ID,
right.
It's not that it's just like, oh, hey, we put pictures on our right. No, that is to identify you.
Right, your identity is in your face. At least though, that's how we do it now. But I don't know. I mean, maybe with the advent of like quick bio identities, retinal scans or something like that.
Well, first of all, someone shouldn't be driving a car with so much fabric around their eyes.
It's true. It may impair their vision. If it impairs their vision, absolutely not.
Get some tinted windows.
Yeah. And then just drive around naked
and reduce to burqa or to
hijab.
To hijab for a minute.
What about ninjas? Can ninjas drive?
No.
Okay. Anyway, what's really ironic about this is that my understanding is that, and I haven't done enough research to really know this, but my understanding is that there's nothing in the Quran that specifically says that that women have to wear a headscarf.
Right.
That's all later. That's not Quranic.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I mean, obviously, even certain Christian groups have come to a similar conclusion about modesty.
Yeah.
Which, where women have had to cover their heads at different points.
Yeah.
The
Christians were doing it.
Yeah. Isn't there something in the temple?
In the Mormon temple?
Yeah. Oh, they put veils over their faces. That's what it is.
Is it? You're the one that's been there. I haven't been there.
Yeah, they don't have to wear it all the time, but there's a certain part.
But there are hats.
There are hats, yeah. And they have funny little hoods for the women.
Oh, the temple clothes are bizarre.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the temple clothes. You guys should look that shit up. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. Anyway, okay. So, can I move along? I'll stay in the same part of the world, a similar part of the world as Turkey.
Yeah, okay.
Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Ooh.
Or Herzegovina. Or
okay.
Herzegovina.
Oh, okay.
Where I wasn't aware of this until I read this article. There apparently in 1981, 6 peasants in a small town called Medjugorje. Apparently the Virgin Mary appeared to them.
What?
And continues to do so daily.
No, she doesn't.
Yeah, they get these apparitions.
No.
They call it. Oh yeah.
No.
It's very clearly true because they say so.
And
And pilgrims go there and they the women come out and they say, "Hey, she prayed over you. Mary prayed over you. You don't get to see her. You'll never get to see her, but she anyway." The article that I read, well, the title of the article is just precious. Visionary from Medjugorje says Virgin Mary is aware of economic crisis.
Oh, as basically a god, that's good.
Yeah.
It's good that she's aware.
If she's going to be
awareness is good.
If she's going to be making appearances and blessing people, she should really know what's going on.
So she reads.
Yeah,
she reads the paper.
Oh yeah, she's up on it.
Oh, good.
Although apparently she's quote more concerned she's more preoccupied with spiritual matters. But when there is a spiritual crisis, there is also an economic crisis.
Oh, that's true.
No, it's not.
No, I've heard that before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it must be true.
Huh.
If you heard it somewhere.
Wow. So, wait, this poor place in the world, and you have poor people.
Yeah.
And they come up with, like, a really good scam. Do people, like, pay them?
Yeah, well, okay, so I went to
make offerings to Mary, but then they...
reap
the benefits?
There is a website. I did check out the website for Medjugorje. Medjugorje.org, actually, has a lovely website. They've got a nice overview of what happened. One of the tabs on the website is donations.
Oh, good.
Which they will accept gladly.
Oh, good.
So it seems to me that a bunch of teenage girls were in a small town and somebody convinced them that they were having, I don't know. To me, it just...
We can start up a whole industry.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what I would do.
Having just come from
if I
Eastern
had, like,
Europe...
no sense of, like, propriety.
Yeah.
Right? I would totally set myself up as some sort of religious charlatan.
Are you kidding me? It's a gold mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
my God. Okay.
I would be a great founder of a crazy religion, I think. I think I would do a good job of that. If I lacked scruples.
Yeah.
I think that would be and believe me, having come just from Eastern Europe, being all over in Poland and Czech Republic and stuff.
Scrupulous people.
These people, there are so many people who will take you for everything you've got.
I was joking.
Yeah, no. It's matter of fact, we weren't allowed to rent. We rented a car so that we could drive all around. If you're driving into Poland, you're not allowed to rent a Mercedes.
Oh,
because they will steal it.
Wow. Were you going to rent a Mercedes otherwise?
It was one of the possibilities.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Mercedes. I mean, it's European. They're all over the place. But yeah, the point is, there are plenty of people looking to take everything from you. Looking in any, I mean, like, you get all of these tourist trap places, and everything in Prague is a tourist trap. Like cultural things.
Oh.
Classical music is a tourist trap somehow. They've turned it all into tourist trap.
Wow.
Everything there is just geared because they were communist bloc, and now they're trying to get a real economy going and everything.
Sure. And they want you to leave your money.
Yeah. And they've got all kinds of great ways to do it.
To help you to do that.
Yeah. But
okay.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that someone and it's not just in Eastern Europe. There are charlatans everywhere. But the fact that they got these 6 girls to, like, Mary appeared to me. You know what it reminds me of? Have you seen the play The Crucible? Arthur Miller's play The Crucible?
I haven't, no.
Where it's about the Salem witch trials,
right.
and there are all these girls that basically peer pressure each other into hysteria.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, seems pretty likely to me.
Huh.
The Catholics, by the way, the Vatican has yet to rule on whether or not this is a true miracle.
Well, they need to figure out how they can make money off of it or not.
No,
if they can,
it's actually more practical than that.
Oh, is it?
They need to wait until it's over, and when it stops, they can rule on it. And because if they rule on it being true, and then one of the girls says something heretical,
oh right,
they have no control. So they waited until the whole Fatima thing was done. What they do is they wait until it's all over, and then they give their yay or nay to it.
They are the charlatans.
Oh, it's all charlatanism.
They've got it figured out.
Of course they do. Of course they do. Well, I mean, if I were in their position, that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
We're investigating.
Yeah.
Investigations are ongoing. We don't assent to it, but we don't deny it either until it's all over with. And then it was a miracle.
Oh.
Ta-da.
Thanks, John Boy.
John Boy.
Yeah.
Is that a Walton moment?
The show that he, the actor hosted on UPN or PAX or whatever.
Oh, that was a miracle.
It was called It's a Miracle.
Tell you
That's my favorite.
What's a miracle is when the plumbing in England works. That's a miracle.
Oh, Dan.
Anyway.
Dan.
I'm sorry.
Shouldn't say such things.
No, it's terrible of me. I know.
Well, I've got some other news from Europe.
Oh, good. We're going to stay European. We're very continental on this.
So this is an interesting one. The UN Committee on the Rights of the Child has condemned the use of what are just kind of called baby boxes in Europe.
So these are
widely used.
When you go to a restaurant and they serve you baby, but they come in little...
It's like a bento box,
right.
yes. But instead, you have... No, that's gross. No, these are for like if a mother, a woman, a pregnant woman who's not in her right mind and has made no preparations for, or is not able to prepare for actually caring for a baby.
Right.
Doesn't want it.
Yeah.
Usually a teenage girl, in this scenario, who would normally resort to a dumpster.
Yeah.
Just getting rid of the baby.
Right.
So they have the baby outside of a hospital.
Or leaving
so
it on a doorstep or something.
Or leaving it on a doorstep. It's the baby in a basket on a doorstep. That classic thing, right?
Right.
This is, so they've set up these boxes in places, probably outside of like hospitals or whatever.
Right.
Where a woman can approach with a baby, put it in the box, ring a bell, and leave.
And get the fuck
out. Nobody asks any questions.
Right.
And so what this committee on the rights of the child is saying is that it actually is infringing upon the rights of the child to know their parents.
Oh, God, that's so stupid. Oh, my God, that is so stupid.
So that bothers you?
Well, okay, first of all, so this means that like they are declaring that an adopted baby, a baby that was given up for adoption, has the right to know their...
Well, there's a paper trail. At some point in their life, they would be able to figure out who their parent is if they wanted to.
So dumb.
And the parent wanted to. But
By the
if
way,
it's completely off the grid and there's no paperwork, then apparently...
This is a fake argument. They are not making the argument that they're really thinking. The real argument that they're thinking is that this somehow they're worried that this will encourage women to get pregnant and dump their babies, or somehow this will encourage them. This practice of having these baby boxes will make it okay for them to do it, or make them want to do it, or something. That's what they're really thinking. But they know that people would object to that argument.
What they're saying is that, and this is a quote. These women are in general victims of a lack of adequate social networks.
True.
And state public services.
Granted.
In the absence of such services, these boxes are a plausible solution to ensure... oh, wait, no, this is actually...
I was going to say, you're on the wrong side of the argument right now.
No.
No, I agree with that, though. That's usually what we're dealing with.
Yeah. But there was actually a quote. Where was the quote? Where I was like, oh, okay. Anyhow. But yeah,
The truth of the matter is that if a mother does not want a child, then we as a society by all means should take that child from her.
Absolutely. And I think that
there is no reason
that the jury
I don't want that person to raise a child.
Yeah. I thought the jury had already ruled in this.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
In fact, these baby boxes seem like really humane.
It's kind of a beautiful notion. It's like we still value
the life
the
of
human
this
life.
Child.
And we don't want this child to be raised in a place where it won't be wanted, where it will... We don't want...
Or worse, that will die.
Right.
That was one of the statistics that they actually brought up in the Czech Republic. I think was the there are 50 baby boxes scattered across the country that have recovered 75 babies.
Wow.
Since 2005. And then there was another one where they're in the Czech Republic. 5 babies have been reunited with their mothers after having been left in a box. And so, but somehow they're coming up with the statistic that 7% of these babies would probably have died. They're saying 7%. So what's happening is, I think what's really interesting is the thing that you just brought up, which is that it seems to be, getting kids out of situations where they would be less than wanted.
Yeah. The other thing, maybe this, and you tell me what you think this would do. Would this solve, who is it? The UN?
UN, yeah.
Would this solve the UN's problem if a mother could when she dropped a baby off, she could take an identification thing that was going, like an identification would be issued to that baby, and she could take it would give her a printout or something of that. She could take it with her. So if she wanted to,
it's the rights of the child that they're talking about.
Yeah.
And so the only thing that you could do is just guarantee, her that she would not be, making it, saying that it is not illegal to abandon a child, which it is.
Yeah.
It's illegal to abandon a child.
Right. I don't know. The truth of the matter is that I don't know. I don't think I don't understand the argument that a child has a right to know who their parent is.
Right? Doesn't that just
that doesn't make any sense at all to me.
It doesn't weigh against everything else.
Right.
You put that in a scale against everything else that could happen to that child.
Right. A child has more of a right to stay alive.
Right.
And more of a right to be raised, unfortunately, probably in the Czech Republic, that child's not going to be, I just...
Wow.
No, I'm saying in Eastern Europe there are still orphanages. There's still
sure.
It's not like going into this box is going to guarantee this child a family.
Oh, right. It's
this is
not
what
like
I'm saying.
The shortage of American babies in America right now.
Right, exactly.
But there's far fewer babies than there are willing families.
Right. There are lots of families looking to adopt, and they actually they have to advertise themselves to adopt a child.
Our friend's sister, who is going through that process, she handed me one of their cards, and I almost started crying.
Yeah,
looking at the card because it's so cute.
It's
First of all,
so cute.
It's so cute.
Yeah,
because they've got their 2 beautiful kids. They've got them. They're just this fantastic, picture perfect family.
Yeah,
and it's all about, hey, why don't you give us your child that you don't want?
Why not choose us?
But what was also interesting is she handed it to me and she's like, and if you know anybody, she's networking.
Yeah. They're working the system.
Yeah.
Which I find, okay. I wish them the best, but they have 2 kids. Isn't that a little weird? Is that a little weird?
They want a third and they can't have one.
Yeah.
And
at least they're not trying to have
another. At least it would be a really good home.
Yeah, it would be a great home. I love those guys. I think they'd be fantastic parents. They are fantastic parents. I think they'd be fantastic parents to
another child.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway. Yeah, I don't know. The whole baby box thing is so weird. What's funny is that as you were talking about it, what popped into my mind was a take a baby, leave a baby. Like the penny thing at the 7-Eleven.
You're just not happy with yours. I always wanted a
or you're walking past and you're like, oh, I could use a baby. Sure, I'll just, yeah. I hadn't even
so you don't even have to leave a baby?
No, you don't have to.
Some people leave a baby.
Right, yeah. Some people leave one. And then other people are like, yeah, you know what? A baby. I would definitely have fun with a baby.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
I did that with the novelized version of The Towering Inferno. I took a copy of that.
Oh, yeah?
From a leave a book, take a book thing.
That's always nice.
The Towering Inferno.
Yeah, sure.
It was awesome. It was one of the best reads.
One of my favorite things when somebody tells me about the book 7 of Harry Potter or whatever, I like to say, they made a book of that?
Oh, right. Yeah, that's kind of funny.
But the truth of the matter is, when someone novelizes a movie, that's always the funniest thing in the world to me.
Yeah, right.
All the novels of like Star Wars movies or whatever.
Well, and then there's like, well, more than that, there's Star Trek.
Yeah.
That's like they go off on their own.
Oh yeah.
thing.
Well, there's pretty intense fanfic for all of those.
Yeah.
Things.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You people who have so little to do. so little to do.
All right. Well, I think that got us through everything we wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah. Here we are.
If you'd like to add your voice to the conversation, you can do so at facebook.com/TGIAtheist or follow us on Twitter at TGIAtheist.
Yeah, and dude, you know what? It's fun on the Facebook. Everybody, start a discussion.
90 some odd likes.
Yeah, we got 92.
92.
We'll get over 100. We'll get over that 100
So
hump.
we just need 8 people. You could be our 100th liker.
And there's a big cash prize for the 100th
No, there's
person.
not.
There is no
cash
absolutely
prize.
no prize whatsoever.
No cash prize.
But you'll feel good.
You'll feel good.
Inside. Also, you can email us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
And there's also a voicemail set up at 424-666-8442. And that lets you just literally add your voice to the conversation. If you leave us a voicemail,
we'll play your voice on the air.
Yeah.
You'll be part of the podcast.
Yeah.
And then we'll make fun of you.
Yeah. Oh,
no.
No, we don't do that.
Actually, we've never done anything remote
that.
like
Oh,
that.
my God.
Because everybody that leaves voicemails is awesome and they have something really cool to say. So, be awesome. Have something cool to say.
Join us. Well, Dan, we didn't plan a break.
Oh, shoot.
We got to this point. We didn't plan a break. So let's just move on.
We are out of practice.
We are a little out of practice. So
I haven't done this for a while, Frank. I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
And I'm hungry and have a headache. So
I'm sorry. I should have fed you.
I'm hungry now. I wasn't hungry before, and I've had a headache all day.
We used to have that our little ritual, which was we would each eat a Snickers.
I know.
Before that was our sacrament.
Well, and we would do it because we were recording late at night.
Yeah.
And we noticed that our energy was low.
Yeah, we needed the blood sugar spike.
So, travels in Europe.
Yeah, in Europe, where religion was invented.
I don't know if that's true.
That's not true at all.
Yeah, no. I think it... But they did take it and...
They ran with it.
Yeah.
They did it real special. They do it up nice over there. Well, not so much anymore.
No, they're kind of getting away from all that.
They've become quite bad at religion.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
But they got some pretty buildings.
Yeah, like what?
Well, okay, so I did want to. Now I talked in our London episodes, or my London episodes. Yours were still Salt Lake episodes, but in the episodes that we recorded from London,
yes,
I think I did talk about going to St. Paul's Cathedral. I don't know if I talked about Westminster Abbey, but there are these, and I also went to Notre Dame, the Cathedral of Notre Dame.
It's lovely.
That's French for Our Lady.
Mm-hmm. They have a beautiful stained glass window.
A rose window.
Recall.
It's the rose window. The
lovely.
And flying buttresses just abound. And
I love a flying buttress.
Everybody loves it. The first time I went to France when I was 9, my parents took us to France, and we went to Notre Dame, and it was the funniest thing. My mom was trying to point out to me the flying buttresses, and she explained what they were. I don't know how much I was listening and how much I wasn't, but she kept pointing, and I kept looking up at this cathedral, trying to find the things that are flying around the cathedral.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't know what a buttress was. Literally, it took I think we just gave up after a while because I never figured out.
Like, right there.
It's the thing that's coming off of the building. And I'm like, there's nothing flying, Mom. There's just pigeons. Anyway.
Okay. Pigeons can fly.
Yes. Yeah, but they're not buttresses.
No.
Pigeons are not the same as buttresses.
No.
I learned that later. Anyway, so I went to all these great edifices. I went in Prague. I went to there's a cathedral of Saint Vitus that's up.
I don't know who that is.
I don't either. But that's actually a really cool cathedral. Although man, Czech Republic's weird, right? Because it was part of the communist bloc, so there wasn't allowed to be any religion for a while.
Right.
But they've got these big churches and things. It's bizarre. And then they've stuffed them full of, like, iconography just everywhere. In stark contrast, by the way, to the palace in the same castle area. And it's called the Castle. It's up on a hill in Prague.
Okay.
The Cathedral of St. Vitus is right there.
Okay.
And that's really beautiful and ornate and old. But it's just stuffed with, like, there's a shrine just sort of tucked away in one of the areas of the... It's really weird how stuffed full this thing is. And then you go into the palace part of the castle, and it's empty. It is... I mean, I'm used to going to stuff in Western Europe where it's like everything... You know, it's an ornate, gorgeous building stuffed with ornate, gorgeous stuff. You know, art on the walls and the... You know, Louis XV chairs and all of this, gold everywhere and all this stuff. There's nothing. They've thrown in a couple of dressers in one place and a chair over here to just kind of give you the idea that this was a room that somebody went into. But my God, it is empty.
Was everything just sold off?
Yeah, I think so.
No way.
And they've gone over these brick walls with some, plaster or whatever, and they've basically ruined it. It'll be a while before that looks good ever again.
Oh, okay.
But one of the things that I wanted to bring up, the reason I'm talking about all of these grand edifices. And there was another one that I needed to mention because it's so cool. It's called it's called an ossuary.
Oh, okay.
And it's in
the bone things.
Yeah, it's in Sedlec. I don't know if that's the pronunciation. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's in the Czech Republic. It's maybe an hour outside of Prague.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kooky town. It's a church, but they've used human bones to decorate everything.
Yeah.
And, built this, you walk in and there's this huge chandelier made of human bones.
Yeah.
And, just skulls everywhere.
Yeah, they've got one of those in Rome.
Yeah?
Yeah.
This one...
We called it the Church of the Bones.
Yeah.
Because we were just we would go and it was crazy town. And you could identify, those are spinal whatevers. And they've made some crazy Baroque looking design with it, but it's all bones.
Right. They've made a bird out of finger bones.
Yeah. And there was the barber children, little guys who died from the Barberini family, which was
one of the big families.
Yeah, one of the big families in Rome. And I guess they were patrons of this church. And so the skeletons from their two children are intact, but they've added on other bones to create wings for them.
You creepy bastards.
So they're now skeletal cherubs.
Oh my God.
And it's just, it's really weird. There's this weird, almost, what is that? It's so weird because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's amazing. Maybe we should post some pics of that.
We could post some pictures, sure.
Anyway, so we went to see that. I guess what I'm getting at, because I didn't really, I gave a lot of thought to, I was thinking quite a bit about religion and what it means and what it gives to people. Mm-hmm. And I talked to a lot of people about religion. You guys heard my my interview with the Bishop of London.
Dude, yeah.
Which, by the way, I became a celebrity with everybody that I was hanging out with. Because, no, not as much of a celebrity as the guy who sat next to Alan Rickman at one of the plays we went to.
Oh, hey. Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I mean, the professor of my trip was just like, that's the Bishop of London. How did you get... And, yeah. Anyway, I guess what... Okay, so I'm going to set all of that aside. Keep that in the back of your mind, and I'll tell you another story.
Oh, okay.
We went to Auschwitz, which, as you all, I'm sure, know, is is one of the concentration camps where the Nazis killed people.
Yes.
I think more Jews died at Auschwitz than anywhere else.
Okay.
It was awful. And it was a really harrowing. It's what you expect. You go there and you know what you're going to see. You're going to see some a bad place where horrible, horrible things happened. Mildly, I definitely felt something there, but it's not like you're sobbing. There are moments where you just sort of, where it overwhelms you and you become very, but it's just, it's sort of a place where you go and you bear witness.
Okay.
Then we went to Berlin, and we went to the Jewish Museum in Berlin.
Okay.
Now, this is a modern architecture thing. It's very interesting. It's jagged and almost lightning-like in its structure.
Okay.
And you can't even enter. Is one of the things that the architect did. Daniel Liebeskind was the name of the architect. One of the things he did was he made it so that you can't actually find the entrance to the building. If you're looking at the building, you won't find the entrance to it because it's actually from another building.
Oh, okay.
It's this sort of imposing sort of idea of like you can't get into it. Anyway, there are rooms in that building. The architect apparently calls voids. There are voids in this building. One of them being what he called a chapel. That's just a very, very dark room that's triangular in shape and very, very tall.
Okay.
And you just go in there and there's nothing in there. There's a ladder that goes up one side and a small sliver, small window right at the top in a very acute angle part of the triangle that lets some light in.
Okay.
Otherwise it's very dark.
Okay.
That is where you got moved.
Huh.
I was very moved in that place.
Okay.
And, Andrea, my wife, was crying.
Mm-hmm.
It's just... So the way I'm tying these two ideas together, all of these religious edifices and that building, is that there's something to the idea of people going into a grand space and feeling something. There's something very palpable, very real, and very important about space.
Yeah.
And it touches something deep inside people, I think. Inside me, anyway. I won't talk about people. I'll talk about me.
Right.
I find it very moving. You go into St. Paul's Cathedral, and my God, it's just mind-blowing.
Right.
It's huge and gorgeous and overwhelming. And it's a great place to sit and think.
Right.
I think we need something like that.
Yeah, and you were saying that you don't think the secular world does a very good job of creating spaces that inspire.
There's no mechanism for it. The thing is that a church can compel its members to give enough money to create the thing.
Right.
There's just no mechanism to create that thing.
Well, I mean,
in the secular world,
I don't know. I think a museum can be inspiring, and
sure,
a library. We have a wonderful library.
Yeah. Oh, and I love our library. It's one of my favorite spaces.
Right.
So I think that's
totally
great.
I think it's inspiring. Like you walk into that place for the first time, and it's like it.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, and it has that the main entry area sort of has that sort of cathedral effect.
It does.
It's so high, it's so tall, and you have these kind of curving. Well, you have a curving wall and everything, and it's like it.
If you guys ever visit Salt Lake City, by the way, go to the Salt Lake City.
You have to go to the library,
public library. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
that was designed by a guy named Moshe Safdie.
Yeah, it's true.
I like that guy.
He's not designing the new theater.
No.
He lost the bid.
Oh, well, of course he did.
Actually, like a company that actually specializes in theater design.
Okay, well,
and
that's
really ultra modern type stuff.
Cool.
So they're doing.
We could have some more architecture. And theaters are actually a really cool, like well-designed theaters.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, are a cool secular place. I wish that there was a place that you could go that was specifically for reflection. That was, I mean, I guess the library kind of is that. That's a very good point. I think that's a really good point.
Think about being up on one of those, higher levels, and sort of the side of the library that has all the views of the mountains.
Yeah,
and you have that huge void. Talk about voids.
Yeah,
that void space between you and the outer wall.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it kind of you feel the height of the place, and then you look out over the valley and see the mountains off in the distance and everything.
Did I ever tell you that I was in an earthquake
I found
right
myself,
there?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Up at the top?
No, but I find myself, whenever I go in there, spending tons of time not focused on the work that I should be.
Right.
And instead just looking off into the space or looking off outside of the library.
Yeah.
It's a beautifully and very well done building. And so I don't know. I think that there are, but what those spaces don't tend to have is community to support them. They tend not. You tend not to have a lot of social connections that are based on that space,
Right.
And that's what's different. That's how the mechanism in my mind is working differently in those different spaces. Because, like, if you were a member of that congregation, right, of one of those churches, if that's where you went to church, was in a huge, beautiful, inspiring building,
then you have a different connection to it.
You have a very, very different connection.
Yeah.
The connection that I feel, I don't feel a connection, but like when I think of the cathedrals that I've been in, it is, there's awe, but a lot of my awe is, how the hell did they do this?
Right.
This was before steam anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
it's amazing.
Like,
And you go in there, you go into these
winches
places
and hoists and, like, it's crazy town. I read
and people who are
is it
hand
called?
chiseling rock.
Basilica. The name is the name of the book, and it's about the dome of the Duomo in Florence.
Yeah.
And that it's only about the construction of the dome.
Right.
I'm sorry, that's not called Basilica. That one was called Brunelleschi's Dome. And just fascinating read.
Yeah.
Like, just because, like, how the hell? Like, when they designed it,
Right.
they didn't know how they were going to build it. But that was somebody else's problem, because that was in 150 years or whatever.
Right.
Like, they knew they weren't going to be to the point of building the dome for, I think it was like 100 years.
Right. So somebody get to work on figuring that out. We'll build the rest of it.
They'll figure, yeah. And that dome is, like, absurd.
Yeah.
And so, it's, yeah, anyways.
I find it all amazing. I mean, even just the little things. Like, you look down and you're walking on a 1,000-year-old floor stone that someone had to chisel into a square. Mm-hmm. And someone had to smooth off the top.
Yeah.
And someone had, like, that's astounding.
Yeah.
You go into Westminster Abbey, where everybody who's famous ever is buried.
Yeah.
And it's bizarre. Like, there was one guy, who was it? Oh, some famous Francis Bacon? I don't know who it was. Somebody famous was buried there and couldn't, like, there was no room left. So he was buried standing up.
Oh my God.
Vertically.
Just so he could be there.
Just so that he could be there, because it was like, that's how they had to squeeze him in.
Wow.
Or maybe he didn't have enough money to get a full thing. Anyway, but the fact of the matter is that there are people buried standing up in that place.
But, I mean, that's the awe that I feel in those places, is its historical significance. And which I think is that's not a pilgrim's awe.
No, but you don't feel an emotional response to the architecture, to the colors, to. Oh,
absolutely. And if you're in a Gothic cathedral, the way the light comes in, it lifts you up. It feels, like there's sort of a dizzying effect.
There's a sensory awe to it. There's a sensory,
and they were aware of that when they were designing it. They were aware of the fact of the way that they were letting light in, coupled with the height, the fact that you're looking up. Yeah. That when it comes in and it hits the floor and it bounces back up and the light's all coming from seemingly the wrong directions.
Right, yeah.
That it puts you into this state of mind that's totally different.
Yeah.
And that is true. But it was a designed thing.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing when they built those cathedrals. And so, yeah, in that regard, maybe we don't. But this is Alan de Botton's thing, right? He wants to build a temple to atheism in London, right?
If he builds something boring and stupid.
I saw a design. It looks like it's really tall.
Good.
The whole point is to go into a room that's, like, unbelievably tall or something.
Well, again, you know what it is? Idea. You know what else? Here's another example of a nice secular thing. The temple at Burning Man.
Yes.
That's an interesting thing. Anyone who's ever been to Burning Man, every year they build a different structure each year, but they build a very large, cool structure there out on the desert playa.
Yeah.
And that's just a place to go and reflect and for hippies to cry and
whatever. I would say, you say that it's secular. I would say that it's secular in the sense that it's not officially linked to any one. It is what you want it to be.
Right. So it's secular for us.
Yeah. But there are people there who are having some sort of experience.
There's the worship of the earth goddess.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Done through
I remember there being
twirling
lots
of hula
of
hoops.
crying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lots of crying.
But
I think that's like, I didn't feel a need to be like, to cry. In fact, it kind of creeped me out.
Really?
I have to say, yeah, it kind of creeped me out.
I didn't enjoy it in that sense. Like, I definitely didn't feel the impulse to lie on the floor and listen to the sounds.
The man was far more fascinating to me.
Oh, yeah.
I loved, climbing up the man and looking out over the playa and everything, but the temple, not so much.
Yeah, well, it's not for everybody, but I think that it is interesting. I think that that spaces like this serve an awesome purpose. And I don't think we know all of the things that is yet. I wouldn't pretend to know all of the stuff that going into these places does for me. I will say, once I start preaching about God in those places, it loses a lot of its luster. I just get so, really?
Yeah.
Really? I want to look around at everybody and go, you're buying all of this? Really? All of it?
Yeah.
But...
Yeah. No, Rachel, who hosted last time, and I have been talking about doing a trip for a while. And we've bounced around from this destination to that destination to another destination. But right now we're thinking just sort of central Italy.
Yeah.
For a couple weeks. And really get off the beaten path and go into lots of little tiny towns.
Sure.
And I've found some places I think are going to be real gems. But I told her because I know she doesn't love museums. She doesn't love a museum. Like, she's like, if there's something that I know is in that museum and it's something I want to see, I'll go to it.
Right.
She's like, I just don't want to go to museums just because I'm in that town and that's the museum to go to when you're in that town.
She's the person that beelines for the Mona Lisa and then wants to bolt.
Then gets out of there.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what? I kind of can't blame her. I usually get a headache in museums after a couple hours, right? It's just too much.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I was like, well, how do you feel about going into churches? Because we've never traveled together and we're trying to figure this whole thing out. And she's like, oh, I don't know. So I was like, well, that's like a really big part of it for me. Like, I think it's quite amazing, and I'm not going there for any sort of religious reason. I'm going because they're amazing.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that we agree on that. That after a couple times of going into these churches, she's kind of just like, oh yeah, these are neat.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I love going into churches.
I mean, like, and we'll definitely spend a few days in Rome. And my God, I mean, that's just what you do.
Yeah, if you're not going to something churchy in Rome, you're not going to Rome.
No, I know.
You're going to something else.
And okay, yeah, you can go to the Colosseum, you can go to the Forum, there's all that, the old ancient Roman stuff.
Yeah.
You can go to the Pantheon, but guess what? The Pantheon is now a Christian church. So, I mean, even all the old Roman stuff has been appropriated. Right. And so anyways.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, good luck getting her into the churches.
Oh, I'm sure she will. But I think that it's just interesting that it is such a part of a trip to Europe.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Yeah.
So, anything else?
Well, I don't. No. I'll leave us all with a quote from Thomas Jefferson. How about that?
Okay.
Thomas Jefferson. Which one do I do? Religions are all alike, founded upon fables and mythologies. Thomas Jefferson.
All right.
I don't know. That's a terrible way to end it.
Yeah. Well, if you have any favorite Thomas Jefferson quote.
Yeah.
Go to facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
Yeah, post those up there.
Post them up, or you can tweet them at us, I guess, at TGIAtheist.
Tweet at us.
Tweet at us your thoughts.
Or you can, again, send us an email at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
And our voicemail is 424-666-8442.
Thanks a lot, guys.
See ya.